guys, Sherry here. Here we are, another Tuesday. I'm proud of myself because I told myself I wanted to do this every Tuesday at noon, get in the habit of it. I don't know about you, but it's very easy to get distracted in life and not stick to a schedule. So I have really been working hard at forcing myself to stick to a schedule. With that being said, I will not be in town in the next 2 weeks, so it'll be a couple weeks before I have a live again, but I promise I'll get back in here. So welcome to those of you that are joining me live. I just want you to know that I am a one-man show. I'm doing this on my own, and so if you do have questions, I'll be sure to look at them kind of periodically as I see people come on, and look at the end of when I'm finished today. I will look for you, okay? And also, hey, if you're watching this after the fact, which a lot of you do, if you have a question about what I've done and you want some clarification on it, don't hesitate to message me, okay? All right, so today, what I want to go over is the shears that you have in your toolbox. There's so many different types of shears to choose from, and sometimes as a new hairstylist or as a hairstylist that's not well versed in haircutting, it can be very confusing on which shears do I get for myself and which ones do I use for what. So today I'm going to share with you how to use different texturizing shears, and I'm going to use 2 different types of shears. And we're going to be doing it on this gal right here. It is a haircut that I started to create when I was teaching a class, and it wasn't finished, it wasn't fine-tuned. And I felt like the best way to kind of share with you how the scissors affect using them different ways and how to use your texturizing shears and seeing how it affects is really great when you're doing detail work. Sometimes when we do a haircut, I know for myself, I'm speaking for myself as well, but have you ever been doing a haircut on somebody and you thought in your head, I nailed it, it did so great, and then you finished the haircut and you're looking at it and you're seeing all these little hairs that you missed, or it looks like it's been layered in one area, or it's not as one length as you thought, or it's bulkier in one area. Can you relate to that? I'm sure you can. And as a hairstylist, we have a vision in our head when we start, and it can be very discouraging when we finish it and it's not exactly how we envisioned. Well, because I know how you feel, and I went through a period, and I still have days, where there's just times that my haircut just didn't turn out quite right. And sometimes we have to use some techniques and use some different types of shears to kind of make our haircut look the way we intended it to. All right? So, these are the different shears that I'm going to share with you today. I have a ton of shears in my toolbox over the years, but I don't want to have this live go too long. I really don't want to bore you with it, or I know we all have attention span of a gnat, so I want to get right into the meat of this. So I chose to use only 4 different shears today. So first I want to share with you the 2 different sizes of shears that I'm going to use today. This one is a shear that it is by Shark Fin, but it's about a 6-inch shear, and it's a great shear just for all around layering and cutting, but it's really great for detailing as well because it does have a pointier tip to it. Okay, so it's really great for detailing. Another one that I'm going to use today is a very long shear. This is a 7-inch blade on this. This is actually a shear that I purchased, early on in my career, and it is a Centrix blade. But I always recommend having one of those on hand for 2 different reasons. Your long blade is really great when you're cutting bobs, because the longer the blade, the more you're going to cut and the less you're going to open and close your shears. The more you open and close your shears, the more chance of deviation you're going to get when you're cutting. So I love to use my long shears when I'm cutting a bob, or when I'm when I need to create a The other thing that I like to use a long blade for is when I'm doing men's hair cutting. Did you know men's hair cutting, they're not so rounded, they're more square. So when I'm layering, it's just a nice blade, a long blade. I can just cut and then go to my next section and cut. I'm not having to open and close the shears so much. And it's nice and straight. Same as when I go to the side, it's just a nice long blade. I'm going to have a nice straight line. So that's what I really like about it. And also, it's just, it's got a serrated edge to it so that when you do cut, it doesn't push the hair as well. I'm not like an expert on like the different types of blades and of shears, of explaining it, getting technical, but I know you know what I mean. When you get a pair of shears and you go to cut and it pushes it, when you're trying to cut a blunt line, it has, yes, it could be dull, but it also has the way the blade is cut as well, okay? But that will be another post that I'll post in there. In fact, I am an ambassador for Shark Fin Shears, and I chose to do that because they have so much education out there for you guys. My next, later in the week, I'll be posting a link to a little education on the different types of shears, what makes one better than the other, so that you're just more educated in it. But if you're looking for more education on shears, you're going to appreciate it a lot, okay? The other two things the other two shears I'm going to share with you is a texturizing shear. Here is two different tooth count. What I mean by that is when you look at this one is a 15 tooth count. So this one is like, it's very wide in between the teeth, and the teeth are cut a little bit more where they cut. This is really great when you want to really open up and air out your haircut a bit. But it's also great for some other things too. I will share that with you in this video. This is another one. This is a 30 tooth shear. This is called the Eraser from Shark Fin. I love this. I chose to share this one with you because it's my go-to. When I want to go in and I kind of want to erase some lines in my client's hair, you know, like a client that has really straight hair and it's fine, and she's got I don't know, she's kind of dark blonde, but it's that client that no matter how precise you are with the haircut, it shows the cut lines. Yeah, this is great for that, just going through the tips of that and kind of erasing that, okay? But it's also great for removing weight where you want to remove weight, and it's also great for just creating softness in the haircut. So let's get started. Oh, wait, backing up a little bit. Just if you're wondering about my belt, I am working in my bedroom at my house that I created a little studio with. So I don't have a lot of room for a stand. And this belt, it's a frame R belt. I use this at work too. I love it because you can just stick everything in it. But anyway, in case you're curious about it. So the combs that I'm going to use today, one is a Cleopatra comb. I use this for wet cutting, but when I'm working with dry hair, I'll use this when I'm detailing the bangs and stuff. But this is actually a comb. It's a bionic comb. I'm not recommending it. I'm just wanting to share it with you, that how wide the teeth are, if you can see that. It's just wider teeth because when the hair is dry, you're not wanting tension. When you're going through and you're detailing your haircuts, you want to just let the hair fall where it wants, and you want to be able to control it so that you're able to kind of fine tune it, but you don't want to add tension to it. You know, a comb that's wider tooth like this, it just glides through the hair a bit more. Okay, and it's just a lot easier for detailing when you're kind of dry. Okay. So on this head, what I started to do was I created a stacked effect, a graduation in the back. But what I'm not loving is how heavy it is right through here. So I'm going to erase that a little bit. I want a little bit more layering up in here. I feel like it's just too solid. So we're going to work with the shears on creating that. And then when we come around here to the face, I want to open this up. I don't want to remove it completely. I want something like this. This is a haircut that I've created before, and I'm going to kind of mimic this. As you can see, she's got the graduation in there. She's got the stacked effect, but she's got a little bit more layering to it. And then also when I take my fingers and I stick them in there, you're getting a little bit of movement and height. And that is what clients are seeing in the inspiration photos. They're seeing these layers. They're seeing this movement. And you as a hairstylist need to be able to pinpoint that when they're showing you the picture, and then you also need to, as a stylist, know how to create that. And a lot of it is in the fine-tuning of the haircut. And then around the face, I just want to open it up. I like this asymmetrical fringe here a little bit. It's kind of sexy. It's just piecey, but she's got layers. It wants to move off to the side, and it's not so solid and blocky, as you can see. Okay? I'm just going to show you that up close a little bit more. I love the way this moves. You can see how that's just a little more graduated in the back. It's a little cleaner. Okay? All right, let me just check on here. All right. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to start in the back. And we're going to start to just erase that bulky line. And I'm going to do it with these texturizing shears, right? Now, the texturizing shears that I do use behind the chair, they are by Shark Fin as well, and they do swivel. The thumb swivels. This one does not, because when you're doing, when you're going in and you're wanting to do a softening on this type of a shape where it kind of bends under, it's really better to have the teeth on top. So you're going to see me kind of turning my wrist a little bit, and that's why. But I didn't have my swivel thumb with me today. It's at the salon. So, and to be quite honest with you, if you use, it's always good to have a pair of shears that you're not using every day in the salon to use on your mannequin heads, because the hair has been so processed that it is hard on your shears. So I prefer to use different shears when I'm working on mannequin head and I'm doing mannequin head work rather than working behind a chair. Okay? Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I've got my wide tooth comb here and I'm just visually looking at it. And the thing I want you to notice is I'm stepping back away from my work and looking at it from afar. Okay? That's a really important tip that I want to share with you, because so much time we're still up close in our work and we end up over cutting a lot of times because we're just right up in it. When you just take the time to step back away from your work and look at it from afar, or even turning your client into the mirror and looking at them through the mirror, you're going to get a different view of the work that you're working on, and it's going to help you from overcutting, okay? So that's a little tip I wanted to make sure I pointed out, is to step away from your work periodically and look at it from afar, from at least an arm's length or from a mirror view. So, because you'll be so shocked to see, sometimes you'll look at it and you'll go, oh, that's coming out great, or oh, I'm way off. So just periodically checking will save you a lot of headache in the future. Okay, so now I'm just going to go in here, I'm just going to close the shear, and I'm going to just open and close it as I walk up, and I can elevate as I go. And then drop it and look at it. See how that's starting to soften that line just a little bit? I think it's really important for you to know, to remember that piece of it, is to walk with the comb. The other piece that I want to make sure that you're seeing me do is that I'm mirroring the comb. The hair is, I put the hair into the comb, and I'm making sure that my comb is mirroring the geometric shape that I have created there. I don't want to change the shape of it. And that's just a way, an artistic discipline for you to use to keep yourself on point, okay? So here, I'm just going to kind of cut that off, and I'm going to walk up and cut. Now, when I'm cutting, I just want to note I'm only cutting in the outside portion or the ends of the hair. I'm not going in deep. I'm just going in, like when I'm going to stand here to the side and put that in there just so you can see that. Hopefully you can see that. Okay? You know what, I'm going to bring this just a little bit closer. I have to get better lighting so you can see a little bit better. It's so hard when you're trying to do this in your room. Okay, so anyway, I'm just going to go in here. I'm going to pick it up and put it in my comb, making sure that my comb is mirroring the geometric shape that I'm wanting to cut. And then I'm just pulling it out, and I'm just cutting maybe the last, move my hand here so you can see it. I'm just the very ends. See how I'm walking it up and just slowly letting it fall? And what happens is that just makes that really, really invisible. Okay? Do this on the other side. And as you can see, it's not taking a lot of effort. It's not at all. It just takes a little bit to get this, to get the effect that you're looking for. And that's why I'm saying, step back from your work as you're working. And as you can see, I always comb it and check it. How is it looking? That's looking good. It's starting to really take a shape there. Okay? Now this down here, when you're working on a mannequin head, it's not as pretty, but that's just because the way it's knit in the mannequin head. But on real people, when you take the time to go in and kind of tailor this in a little bit, it makes all the difference. So what I'm seeing here, I'm going to pull this up here. What I'm seeing here is this is just kind of poking out a little bit, and I want to kind of tuck that in a little bit, but I want it to be very soft. So I'm going to use, I'm going to switch to my 15 blade. Okay, this one is great for just removing length, but having a very soft effect, like the effect you get with a razor. Okay, I'm going to bring it up closer like that. Yeah, it's not going to work. Okay. So I'm just going to kind of set my comb in here, and I'm just going to walk up just like we did before, but where my comb is at is where it's going to cut, where it's at from the head. So what I'm saying is how far you hold the comb out from the head is going to determine the length that it's going to be, okay? So here again, I'm just going to walk. And see how that's starting to erase it, and it's starting to look a little bit more soft, a little bit softer, a little bit more blended. Where this side I haven't done quite as much. It's got a few hairs that are kind of poking out. See how that flows a little bit more? This is a great tool to use when you're really wanting to create beautiful, hairline. You have those clients that have some funky hairlines. This is really nice to go back in and just detail it out. Just using your scissor over comb, just kind of walking the shears with your comb. It's almost like you're doing a dance. And, when I set my comb in, I'm mirroring my comb with my scissors, and I'm just walking it up. And it just starts to erase that in. See, it's starting to look a lot better. All right, so just to back it up a little bit, we've already shared two techniques. We've shared both of the texturizing shears. We used the 30-inch blade, the finer one, to kind of erase this line here a bit. And then we used the 15 one to really kind of take a little bit of length off this, but allow it to still be soft, okay? I just hate the way that flares. That's what lives are all about, so that I can learn how to do this and get the lighting right. But you guys get to benefit from it. Okay. So now we are looking at the side view here. And what I'm seeing here is there's just a little bit of a lip here. I'm going to go to this side. This side is the worst side. There. You can see that so much better here. There's just it's just too bulky, and when I lift that up, you can kind of see how it just kind of deviates right there. So this is where I'm going to pull pull out my long blade, and I'm going to try and do this so you can see this. There. All right. So, little side note here. I'm going to just kind of comb this forward and hold. I'm using my right hand to cut, and I'm combing this forward and catching it with my left hand, and I'm just going to comb this down. And the reason I'm doing that is because this side of the head is very thick. This is an asymmetrical cut, and I need to be able to just do a little bit at a time. So I'm just going to kind of go in here, and I'm just going to kind of cut that blunt off because I want a blunt line there. Okay? This is just a great little tip to do when you're fine-tuning your bobs, is to take it section by section. So close my shears here because I'm not getting a really good hold on it, and I'm just going to hold it. And now I can see the line that I need to cut right here. There. Here again, I'm going to close my shears, and I'm going to enter into the hair, and I'm making sure that I'm mirroring the diagonal of the diagonal of my shape here on the bottom, and then I'm going to come in here and mirror my comb with my scissors and just bring it down, and then I can get a nice clean view of what I want to cut. Okay? And it wasn't a whole bunch that I needed to cut, but it was enough. But you can see how just by having a longer blade, I'm going to get a cleaner line because you're not opening and closing so much. Okay? So the tips I wanted to follow up on was that we entered with closed shear, closed blade, and I went in and mirrored the shape of my geometric shape here, the diagonal of it. It is a diagonal forward. And then I'm going to put my comb in and mirror my scissors. So my comb is literally sitting on my shears, and I'm just combing down. And so you can see how my comb is exactly the shape of my perimeter, and then I can just go in and mirror that shape with my scissors when I cut. That's a really great tip for you when you're cutting your bobs, because it keeps you, you're always thinking about the shape, and it's called an artistic discipline. It helps keep you being able to reproduce your looks all the time by having little disciplines like that. Okay, so now we're back to this side. I know I keep moving. I'm using what I'm using here, guys, is this really small mirror, or small Nexigo camera, so I can get in up close here. Now what I'm seeing here, I'm going to turn it, you could probably see it a little bit better. Right here I've got some deviation, and right here I've got a little bump, and I've just got a little bit here. So I don't really want to cut it blunt off. I need to kind of get rid of those little hairs piece by piece. And that's when you're going to bring in your shorter blade, but a pointier one. So on this one, I'm just going to kind of, first of all, do what we did on the other side. I'm just going to kind of move that hair away and then work at it section by section. And the reason I do it that way is because I can find where the hair is coming from when I'm trying to detail it. Sometimes if we comb it down, all down, we're cutting hair that we don't want to cut. It's just a lot, and sometimes we can't find it. So just by taking it and just lightly combing it forward and getting that out of the way, and then coming back here, I'm just using the tip of my comb and combing that back down, I'm able to kind of see where I need to work. So I'm going to come back in here with my comb, and all I'm doing is securing it. My comb is mirroring the shape, the diagonal, and I'm just going to go in with my scissors, make sure you can see that, and I'm just going in at a slight angle. I'm not going straight in, I'm going a little bit at an angle, and I'm just biting it off. Can you see that little point? And I'm just biting off. This is called detailing, and these are the littlest things that you do that make all the difference in your work. See how that's really looking so much cleaner? So now I'm going to kind of just section the next section down. Look at that one. So, okay, where's that? I knew there was a little point somewhere in there, but I still haven't gotten to it yet. Where is it? Okay, I'm coming up on it. Can you see the deviation right There. Okay? So I'm just, as you can see, I'm using my comb and my scissors to secure it. And I'm not taking off that point. I'm being very careful. But I'm just making that line just a little bit more polished. You know, when I'm working in the salon and I see people do haircuts that last, like, they're done in like 20 or 30 minutes, that's great that you're getting done fast, I guess, but when you don't take the time to go back in and do these little details, you're not going to be able to retain a high-paying client. If you're wanting a high-paying client, bottom line is, they want the details. They expect the details. They expect to have people turning their head and saying, hey, who cuts your hair? So, anyway, you can see how that just cleans it up quite a bit. So, like I said, on this side, the first thing to do when you're wanting to fine tune is comb it all forward and then work your way backwards. So I'm just going to take that bottom section and look at it and see what's going on there. And then just take it section by section. That's just a really great way to fine tune your work. That way you're not cutting so much and guessing. Okay. Also, using my scissors to kind of get that hair and then just securing it with my comb. It's just a really great tip to use when you're wanting to really fine tune the shape and have the hair secured while you're working. And I'm taking my scissors in at a slight point here. I'm not going straight in, I'm going into slight angles so I can cut it off. But I'm also holding my shear not flat, I'm kind of holding it at an angle here. So part of it is kind of resting on the face, and I'm just going in and point cutting. And what's happening is, it's just cutting that bottom hair in my scissors. I'm not wanting to go in and cut any of this line. I like that line. So you want to be careful of that. Now as I round this corner, I want to soften this line. So I'm going to pick this up, and this will give you a good view. We're going back to the 30, the eraser. Again, the cutting blades on top. You can see I'm just cutting just the very tips. But see how that starts to erase that? That looks so much better and so much cleaner. Okay? Alright. So now we're moving in. We want to open up the face here, right? Okay, let's see. So part of what I do when I'm trying to decide what I want to do is I kind of let the hair fall. And I want you to also make note that how I've blown it dry and finished it, that the style is not full and full of volume. I blew dry the hair nice and flat against the face or against the head and let it just be where it wants to live. I used a Denman brush for that. That's an awesome brush to when you're fine-tuning your work, when you're going to be doing work like this or fine-tuning your bobs using a Denman brush is really awesome for that. And then, in fact, I'll show you the brush. This one is actually by Aquage. I used to be an educator for them. But this is a Denman brush type of brush. It's got a rubber base, so it gets nice and hot, and it's got these stiff bristles, and it's just amazing to really polish off the hair. If you guys would like a live on that, or like a tutorial on that, just shoot me a message and I'll be happy to do that for you. Okay. So now I'm going to go in and I feel like I just want to create movement in here. But first, I'm not really loving this length. So I'm going to go in here. I'm not going to do a lot of talking right now. I'm just going to let you watch. Just plumb it out. I'm going to create layers. I'm going to be taking my scissors straight in and cutting it off. Okay, so I create a soft line. Now notice my angle of my fingers is angled in. It's going shorter to longer. I'm not going past the top of the head don't want to go get anything back in here. Like I don't want to go past the apex. Okay, you want to keep in the frontal bone area. So I've established a length here. So I'm just going to work in pie sections off this middle part, and I'm just going to do another one here and another one here until it blends with this part. Then I'm going to come back over here and do one pie shape in here to blend this side. And I'm just going to mirror the diagonal that I did on the very first section. Just bring everything back to the center. So when you're watching, just try and pay attention to where I'm holding my hands. Now I'm right here at the edge of the brow bone. I know that because I'm right here at the edge of the eyebrow. I'm going to bring this over to the center. And I'm going to cut that off. Here again, I'm just going in. Point cutting that off, and then you can see how that's starting to create movement and life in there. Go back over here to the other side. There again, just to the edge of the eyebrow. Pulling it back to where my first guide is. So I'm using a stationary guide. My fingers are angled shorter to longer. And see how that's starting to really create that movement. This is why I like to have a shear that's about 5.5 to 6 inches long that comes to, just pointier. There is some blades that are a little wider. I have some blades that are even more pointy than this that I'll use on short hair when I'm really detailing. But generally speaking, if you have a shear, when you just need to get a few different types of scissors in your toolbox, getting one about this length and with some pointiness to it would be a really great start for you. Okay, so now that we've created that, now what we have left to do is to create the movement. I'm going to bring back the inspiration head. Bring this back here so you can see it. So this is our inspiration head. We've got, she's got, movement going on here. The hair moves off to the side, but it's a lot looser than it is here. This is still a little bit heavy to me. And then in the back, we've got a little bit of some layering going on. Not a whole lot. You can see it more like right here. Okay? And what we're going to use on that is, I'm going to bring out the eraser shear again. To tell you what, I use these two shears all the time. Alright, so now we're going to go in and we're going to create that softness. We're going to make it look a little bit piecier and softer. So the first thing I'm going to do is just create a little bit of a layer to it. So let me turn it around. This is my old stand. I've had it for probably 25 years, but I love it. It's by Pivot Point, and it's one of my favorites. And they stand by their, I've had it repaired a few times, and obviously need to have it repaired again. Alright, so now you can see. Okay, so all I'm going to do is just kind of pull this from the back. I'm just going to pull it up, straight up from where it lives, and I'm just going to go in and I'm just biting off the ends. I'm just going in at an angle. So you see it? I'm just going in at an angle and I'm just creating texture. Okay? And then I'm going to create one on the other side. So I'm always working, just so you know, whenever I'm working, I always have a guide. So when I pull this up to the top of the head, this way so you can see it. When I pull this up to the top of the head, I can see what I cut before right in there. See how this is longer and yet that's a little bit more, that's a little bit heavier. That tells me that's where my guide is. When you're working, doing kind of work like this, you still have to have a guide just to keep you on track so you don't get lost. So I'm just going in and kind of going right at that length and just biting this off. Now, mind you, I would not be doing this technique if they were going to wear it curly as well. I would have probably done some layering on the hair when it was dry or wet. Okay? And I would use different tools, so in case that's running through your head. And now here I'm just going to, as you can see, I'm just going to work my way around the head, pulling it up. I don't want to affect anything in the exterior of the head. And the way you want to, the best way I can describe it is, when you look at a head shape, the widest part of the head is called the parietal ridge, or sometimes you know it as the crest line. Well, that's the widest part of the head. And everything up above that crest line is called the interior, and everything below it is the exterior. In this haircut, I don't want to affect anything down here. I want to create movement and life in the interior of the haircut and have that fall over the exterior. I think that's very important to point that out, because when we're cutting hair, you've got to have an understanding of the head shape you're working on, and where you are placing your layers is going to ultimately affect the final effect of your haircut. Okay, so now as I'm working my way around the head, I'm using a traveling guide. I'm just pulling it up and it's just more of a freehand. You're just kind of stepping back and kind of looking at it. I think I need just a little bit more. Now when I say I need a little bit more, I'm going to pull it up. That's dropped out. I'm not going to affect that at all. And I'm just going to go in a little bit deeper. Whoops. And soften that line. Okay? And I'm just going to continue doing that. Now, in this live, I'm only going to use this shear. Sometimes there are times like I will go in and I'll go in with a straight blade and just point cut it out if I want to be a bit more aggressive. But I'm not really wanting to. I really want to share this technique with you because I think it's something that you can take back to the salon and use. And it's not going to, like, say you decide to try it on a client. You're not going to cut it at a huge chunk. It's going to take you a lot of opening and closing to really ruin your haircut. So you can see how that movement is starting to take place. Okay, let's turn it this way. And again, let's fringe area. So we're going to go right past the fringe, pulling it up. I've got that in here. Just going to kind of go in and point cut it off. I'm being very careful that I don't cut anything down there because then I'll ruin the shape. So there's a lot to be aware of, isn't there, when we're cutting? Sometimes we get to talking with our clients and before we know it, we've cut the wrong thing. So be aware of that, first of all, until you're really confident in your hair cutting. But also, that's a reason why it's important to have strong artistic disciplines, so that when you're working with your client and you're having conversation, you're able to have that conversation with them, but you're also able to maintain your artistic disciplines and create your beautiful looks. And artistic disciplines there's something that you use whenever you're cutting hair, like when I'm talking about working with a stationary guide or a traveling guide, or when I'm talking about mirroring my comb with my scissors, or I'm talking about separating the interior from the exterior. Those are artistic disciplines that once you learn them and you practice them and they become part of you, then it makes it a lot easier to create these looks that your clients are asking you for, and you're not in your head having to really focus, okay? So So you can see how that's really starting to come to life. And I would just say the thing I want to change, I want to do now is this still looks a little bit heavy to me. So I am going to do what I said I wasn't going to do. I'm going to go in here with my scissors and point cut that out a little bit because I think it needs it. And we're drawing close to the end of this live. What time is it? Well, not bad. I was shooting for, a half an hour, but we're at 40 minutes. But you can see, like, this is just looking a little bit too heavy for me right there. Okay? So what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to go in here and I am going to work a little bit in the exterior of the head shape. What I'm going to do is I just want to break it up. I don't want to affect the end shape, but I want to break it up. So I've switched to my 6-inch blade, and I'm just going to go straight in and close and open. Or, close as I'm pulling out. So I'm going to go straight in, close as I'm pulling out. Straight in, close as I'm pulling out, and then drop it, and then take a visual look. And see how that's starting to soften a little bit? We'll probably be able to see it again in the next section. There we go. On this side. So now I am working a bit in that, I am working in the exterior now, below the parietal ridge. And I'm holding the hair. I've got it clasped with my fingers right here at the length. And I have it secured with my fingers pretty doggone tight. And I've got it to where it's kind of feathered out so that I can work with it. See how it's not all bunched together? That's one of the benefits of having this comb too. And then I'm just going to go in, close as I'm pulling out. Straight in. Now when you go straight in with your shear, you're just getting a lot finer line. See how that's starting to loosen up and move a little bit? It's not so thick. Here. Just pick this up here. This is really, really thick. Here again, I'm using my fingers, and my comb is holding it, so it's. Let me get a better view here. Nope, you can't. I need to move. I want you to see where my fingers are at. So I'm taking my comb, when I take my comb and then I take my fingers in there, see how it's kind of spread apart? Here, we'll do it again. I'm holding on my comb and then I stick my fingers in there and it's spread apart like that. So I can work with it. And then I'm just going to go straight in. And as I'm closing it, I'm pulling it out. I'm not taking huge chunks. And that's why you want to go in, straight in. When you're just wanting to remove weight like that, you want to go straight in with your blade and not at an angle. That way it's a lot softer. And I think she looks a lot better. So there you go. She's got some movement to it. You can see how she's got some life to her here. It's not as blocky in the back. She's got a lot more movement to it. This mannequin head is a lot thicker than the other one. But my whole purpose of this whole live is to share with you some tips that you can use today working behind a chair and understanding what the differences are between these type of shears. So I'm going to go back over them just a little bit. First of all, this is like my main shear. This is by Shears. It is a 5.5 to 6 inch blade, and you can see how it's got a nice length in the blade, but it's kind of pointy on the ends. Okay, and having a longer blade. This is actually bicentrics. I've had this sharpened so many times, and it still works great. But it's just great to get a nice clean cut when you're doing your bobs or you're doing men's haircut layering. And it's also great for scissor up comb too, but we weren't going over that. Okay, and then we went over 2 texturizing shears. One that is, I love this one. Actually, I didn't show you how to loosen up the hair with this, did I? I'll show you that on the next one. But I showed you how to use it to remove length on the bottom. And this is our eraser that's got 30 teeth in it, and this is really awesome for just erasing those lines that you get in your haircut. Sometimes our clients' hair color and the texture, they just are in such a way that it shows every cut line. So anyhow, I really, 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 really hope these tips help you. I will be back here 2 weeks live, but in the meantime, I will be checking the group. I hope that you guys get a little bit more active in here. My whole purpose of this group was truly just to come to a place of where I can meet with you, and if you have questions about your business, or you have a haircut you're struggling with that you'd like some help with, reach out to me, because that's what this Facebook group is for. Eventually I'm going to have a paid membership, and this won't even exist, but for now, this is where I'm at, and this is where I want to bring my people, the people that need help, that you're struggling a bit with hair cutting. Anyways, remember this though, when you're working on your client, remember that your work, it's not about you. It's about how you make your clients feel. Sometimes we're the only person that's looked them in the eye and talked to them or touched them, and we can't forget that. All right, so don't be all up in your head when you're working too much. Sometimes when we make it about us, we lose the whole purpose of why we're doing what we're doing. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Have a beautiful day. God bless you.